More importantly, we got Brad Holmes breaking news. Matter of fact, Chris, play the 10-second clip of Brad Holmes on Jared Goff.
All right, I got you.
I never really deemed him as a bridge. I think everybody else did, but I think it's a little bit of the recency bias from what he had to go through last year.
I mean, he's not lying.
He's not lying.
He never came out and said he's a bridge. That's just something that the media blanketed him with. I mean,
he said, yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard a GM come out point blank and say anybody's a bridge quarterback or, oh, this guy's just here.
They normally don't do that. Yes.
Yeah. And even if it's not, like, the nice way of saying that is like he's gonna have the opportunity to compete. Is what they say typically.
He said Jared has proven to everybody that he is the starting quarterback for us. Is what Brad Holmes said.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, I don't know if this was said, I guess, in terms of like the Woodward heavyweights while we were live on here, whether it was in Studio B, but I've always had that expectation that, like, even when we were talking about the Malik Willis stuff, like, Jared Goff is going to have every opportunity to compete. Like, why complain? Why bitch about it when, like, your guy, the guy that you believe in, the people who want Jared Goff to be the future of this thing, they have every single opportunity to compete for the job. And what he went out this year, and he did so in terms of, like, just like holding off, whatever decision needs to be made for the future. But in the same sense, Benny, there was a conversation had about a decision being made in the future. And Chris, if you play the other clip of Brad Holmes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of proof behind that. You can see countless examples of guys that got drafted high. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes comes up, right off the bat of, them trading up and taking him high and sitting. But, you can go back to, man, the guy that we just got done playing in Aaron Rodgers, So there's a lot of there's a lot of proof in the pudding behind taking that approach, and I don't see anything wrong with it. It's a premium position. They don't grow in trees. They're really hard to find. Just like I said earlier, it's easy to get worse at that position and get better at that position because there's so few of them. So, but I'm not against at all that philosophy of draft one, let them sit and develop, and just kind of see what you got down the road.
Brad, we focus,
as any GM should, has only spoken on that matter and almost any matter in the fact of, like, if there's an upgrade available, we're going to take it. At any position, that should be your mindset. Mm-hmm. If there's an upgrade available, we're going to take it because your job is to improve the team, to keep this thing going for years and years to come.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're going to get a guy on a rookie deal where you can afford a little bit better of a team, or just as he said, too, the proof is in the pudding. There's been guys sitting behind quarterbacks like Jared Goff, like Jimmy G, like Brett Favre, like Alex Smith, like Joe Montana. Like, the list goes on and on, just as he said. They've come out and then balled their asses off. Mm-hmm. Deshaun Watson's another example of that. Lamar Jackson's example of that. You could maybe even somehow, in a fucked up way, bring up the name of Geno Smith and talk about how he sat for so damn long before making a Pro Bowl in the playoffs this year. You could. He sat for quite a long. It's like Mama Goose sitting on that egg, just, let it warm up.
Yeah.
Then it's ready to crack, and then it goes. But that's always been the statement that we've made. My record prediction for the Detroit Lions this year was 9-8. I loved it after the whole situation went down in Green Bay. People coming to me, how you feel now? How do you feel now? My record was 9. We've always said this.
Yes.
Spinning it, both of us. Mm-hmm. You can go to playoffs with Jared Goff. We've said that. You can win playoff games with Jared Goff. We've said that. We don't think you win the Super Bowl, Jared Goff.
Yes.
We just think there's a little bit extra to actually fall through and do it. And then, again, I'm not crazy. I'm not a hater. You just heard the GM of your football team give you the same exact scenario. I just wanted to.
Yeah, he did say it's a lot easier to get worse at quarterback than it is to get better at quarterback, which is very true. If you got something good, you normally rock with it. But yeah, he's like Kloppsaw said in the Woodward Sports chat. He went on Rich Eisen and said if his guy's there, he's going to take him. He said today at the podium that it's not out of the question. If there's a guy that they're in love with, they're going to take him. It's all about competition with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, rightfully so. It's all about making things better and continuing. Jared Goff put on a fantastic performance this year, had a great season. But that is a position that Brad Holmes says that there are multiple avenues to do different things. There are multiple avenues to address that situation. And it's not somebody that's going to come in, step in, and replace Jared Goff immediately. No, it's not how that works. Jared Goff's coming off a Pro Bowl season. But he says there's a lot of merit to sitting a guy behind a guy like that. There's a lot of proof to sitting behind a guy like that it works. And rightfully so. That's what you should do if you're trying to build a team for the long run.
Now, a lot of people could look at that and they could say it's GM talk, and that could be very true. But I'll tell you this. Jared Goff actually spoke this immediately after the game, actually on Sunday, and he was like, these guys have been transparent with me. And in a way, it's and this he didn't say. This is like off the record or whatever, but like it's lit a fire under his ass.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, and that's what you want. I mean, this is competition. I mean, that's the one thing that Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes preached in and out throughout free agency, throughout these draft classes. Like, you're gonna have your opportunity to go out there and compete. That's the entire outside of obviously the punch in the mouth, the kneecap bite and stuff like that, which that goes hand in hand actually, competition and kneecap biting, but. And every level of it, we talked about that. We raved about it. We loved it when it come off season during the HBO Hard Knocks when they're talking about the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator competing against each other. Both of them said specifically, "Oh, I want to be the best coordinator in Lions history." You know what I'm saying? Again, offensive defense. You saw the stuff with Deuce Staley and Aaron Glenn. That it's all competition, and it brings the best out of people. It brings America's run that way. This is capitalism. It's
That's what happens.
If you don't like that, you're communist. How's that?
How's that?
How do
you feel about that one?
Just like Ben Johnson, I heard.
Just say, I've heard Ben Johnson.
Saw him on a couple Reddit boards.
Yeah.
With that said, Spinny, I got to ask. And matter of fact, I'll put in the phone number in the chat too, because I know people want to call in and talk their issue about this one. But with that being the conversation with Brad Holmes, what do you think they do in the draft now?
I still think it's the same route. I expect them to go defense, their first two picks. Grab a guy like Kelly Ringo, possibly, or Brian Breeze. Try to get a cornerback. They're going to get a cornerback in the first round, for sure. They're going to get a defensive lineman very soon. I expect them to go, like I said, I wouldn't be mad if they get a quarterback late in the draft.
Yeah, that's the other part,
They're
too.
They're going to need to address it, because next year, God forbid Jared Goff gets injured and has to miss a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You can't be in a situation where you're relying on Nate Sudfeld to go out there and produce for you, because now these games matter. Now it's not a throwaway season where if David Blau or Tim Boyle has to come in and start a couple games, then you're fine. But next year you have legitimate NFC North title contention expectations. You have the expectations that you're going to win 12 games and win the NFC North. And if you're the Detroit Lions, you can't afford to, like I said, God forbid Jared Goff rolls an ankle, gets a cracked rib, has to sit out a game or two, and you're trotting Nate Sudfeld out there.
Jesus.
When you see how one game this year decided whether you made the playoffs or not, one win, one loss this year decided whether you make the playoffs or not, you don't have the luxury to be able to afford not having at least a quality backup, if that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because it matters now. Every game matters.
Because you're actually in contention. You're expected to be in contention.
You have realistic expectations of winning your division.
And that's something that Dan Campbell said in his exit interview yesterday too, was we've set the standard of where we want to be. And that's not going to change. What does change are those expectations. And with that, everything you said, that plan B, if you will. I'm not talking about your ex-girlfriend. But you need that contingency plan in case of that, because if you truly want to compete.
If you truly want to compete, you need to have your bases covered.
And I guess I want to speak on one other thing, and maybe I could just drag this into the next segment, and it's just in terms of them just taking a player if he's available. We've all, us included, you guys in the Woodward Sports Chat, I've always been open to the idea of a quarterback, just as Brad Holmes kind of just told you too, if there's a guy there. I mean, he's always said that. He said that last year on Rich Eisen. If there's a guy there, they're going to take him. But looking at this draft class, I couldn't unequivocally tell you that there's a guy that is damn surefire prospect at the quarterback position. You know what I'm saying? Bryce Young. Yeah, this year. Because Bryce Young's the closest thing to it, in my opinion. I think a lot of people's opinions, but even him.
5'6".
Yes, exactly. He's got the measurement issues. You got the C.J. Stroud stuff. He's got the inconsistencies and big moments, although he balled out against a damn good Georgia team.
Yeah. He uses his legs a lot more in that Georgia game than he has all season.